What is the hardest thing you have ever said no to?
I walked to the bars when I was in college. This night was in the dead middle of a Wisconsin winter and snow had been falling for a few hours. As I approach a dark intersection, I see this woman stumbling. I asked if she was okay and she said that she was trying to get home. She couldn't even pronounce where she lived. Thinking to myself, this girl needs help, I tried taking her to a pizza place nearby to get warm and maybe some water. They told me that she was too drunk to be there, so I tried explaining the situation to no avail. We start walking in the direction that she thinks is right until she meanders down an alley where two random, older guys get out of a pretty old and beat-up pickup truck. This is where it gets weird. They immediately asked what she was doing, so I explained the situation. By this time an hour had passed and I can only imagine how long she had been out. So they invite us into their apartment. I decline at first, thinking exactly what you are thinking now, but ultimately decide against frostbite. I look into this apartment complex and it's pretty run down. I hear some yelling across the way, some mold on the walls, and when we enter their apartment I see low-lit rooms and mess everywhere. It doesn't seem too pleasant. The guys turn out to be fantastic gentlemen. They laid her down on the couch, got a blanket for her, offered me a beer, and we watched the Florida State game while she sobered up. After an hour or so she wakes up and tells me where she lives. We call a can service to get her home, but all estimates are 3+ hours because of the snow and all the other people taking cabs before Uber. The guys offer us a ride. I don't know who raised those men, but I fully appreciate human beings like them. Anyway, to answer the initial question, the girl started to feel my crotch while we were in the truck. Fully grabbing my dong like a cocktail weenie on Super Bowl Sunday. The guy is laughing quietly to himself. He drops us off and the girl invited me in. I declined, saying that I had to get to my friends who have been waiting for me the last 3 hours. TLDR sex. I declined sex.
It's very hard to eat healthy when you work with 3 Filipino women at work that always bring free amazing food. And then I go visit my in-laws on the weekend. Phil was a chef for 10 years. I'm down 80 pounds, but my soul is a bitter empty husk where my belly once was.
I used to be a slot machine attendant in a casino. I was the person who would hand pay jackpots that were above $250. One time a guy won $150,000 and offered me $1,500 as a tip. Unfortunately, the casino that I worked at was owned by the government, and I was not allowed to take tips. It was so difficult to decline. $1,500 was more than I made in an entire week.
$1,500 is more than I make in a month after taxes. I would have found a way.
Letting my son move back in. It was a continuous cycle of him getting arrested, drinking and selling drugs. He knew how to make me feel sorry for him. He had nowhere to stay, he was hungry, he just wanted to take a shower and so on. I finally realized that I was the one that allowed this to continue. So I had to start saying no to him. It broke my heart, but I had to do it so he could learn to take care of his own problems and to be held accountable. He hit rock bottom and did some time locked up. It was hard for him to get a job after he got out, and he did try to play his mind games with me again, but I stood firm. It was hard on both of us, but it was the best thing that I could do for him. His PO got him in a program with Mission Street Lewis and turned his life around. That was 2 years ago. He is doing great now. He is working 2 jobs, taking care of his sons and staying out of trouble. I'm so proud of him, and what's even better, he is proud of himself.
Was out for my nightly walk and was walking right through the Boston Public Gardens in front of the Four Seasons Hotel. Well, I found a wallet with well over $1,000 and multiple credit cards. Being a broke college student, for a brief moment this was a gold mine. In the end I decided to bring it into the hotel and leave it at the front desk. Not sure how the guy found me honestly, but later that week he sent me a very nice thank you text message. Felt good about that one.
Wealthy man, excellent detective skills. Don't be alarmed, but I think you may have found Batman's wallet.
Friend in college. He was a math genius. Passed his actuarial exams as a sophomore. He called me a couple years later and offers me a job as his partner laundering money. Told me I would get a 50% cut. He made $250,000 in a year, whereas I made $30,000. Sometimes I wish I didn't have morals.
I knew a guy in college who was in a similar situation. He was shot for skimming off the top. Survived, but still.
A shady friend in college knew I needed money, so he offered to set me up with a friend who needed a car driven up from Florida. I'm thinking I might make a few hundred if they're so well heeled that they can't be bothered to drive up themselves. The job pays $10,000, and don't look in the trunk. Pass. Not sure this belongs here, as I wasn't tempted for even a second. Oddly, if they'd offered me less money I might have done it, as I'd have been less certain what was in the trunk.
At one of my first jobs, I was 15 or 16 at the time. I got a paycheck that the bank fudged a decimal on. It was a ton more than I should have been paid, and I totally could have cashed it and it would have been the bank's fault. Not even my work, but I gave it back to my boss and waited to get another one. On the plus side, I received a substantial raise a couple months later, with one of the reasons cited being my honesty.
Good that you reported it, because I'm guessing they would have got their money back one way or another. I bet it's part of policy, because a moved decimal on a larger check could bankrupt some companies.
I saw 2 full bags of heroin outside my apartment about 4 or 5 months after getting clean. Noped it up and kept it moving.
Made the right choice, but who just leaves fucking heroin laying around?
The smack fairy.
WTF, all of these are sex stories. I once walked away from a box of fresh, warm donuts. I still think about that.
You are the most honest among us.
He's full of shit. He turned right the fuck around and ate those goddamn donuts. Believe that.
I was trapped in a somewhat sexless marriage, maybe twice a month. Awful. Are you done yet? Sex. Young, good-looking guy. No kids. Went on a trip to Vegas with the boys. Went to strip club. Hit it off with stripper. Stripper is a 10. Stripper does all the usual "I'm flirting with you to take as much money as I can from you" stuff. I keep cool and say no. She dances anyway. Buys me drinks. I get lap dances and drinks for free all night. At the end of the night she says that if I wait for her she can go change and come back to my hotel with me. I say no, I'm sorry. I can't. Back to hotel with blue balls. Are you out of your fucking mind? My friends say. Sorry, guys. I couldn't live with myself. I'm married. I love my wife. Fast forward 10 years and my wife is caught having an affair. Probably not her first. Oh, fun times.
I had a dream that young Johnny Depp wanted to bone me. Dream me really considered it, but then felt that it wouldn't be worth how much it would hurt my so I said no.
I'm sure Dream So is proud of you saying no.
Was head over heels in love with a girl for 2 years in high school, junior, senior years. She had a boyfriend who was a bit douchey, and finally senior year she left him. Her best friend, a guy, grew up across the street from her. The two of them were extremely close. We were hanging out having a fantastic time, and she asked me if she should consider him. I could have said that it'd be silly and it would ruin their friendship. I could have swooped right in since there were strong feelings. I told her she should. They were just too perfect together. They're married with 2 children. Possibly the most unselfish thing I've ever done. Slightly different, but I got offered a job which would have doubled my wages, given me industry-wide recognition, taken me to a lovely part of the country, and potentially helped with a lot of mental health issues I had at the time. I had a bad feeling that maybe just making the move away from my friends and family wouldn't be the best thing when I was fragile like that, but God, it was tempting. That was 4 years ago, and I have now been with my girlfriend almost 3 years. The company has since folded and I'm 6 months without medication, so I would say that I made the right choice in the end. Edit, thanks for all the replies. For the record, due to the nature of the job I wouldn't have been in a position to save the company. It was a sports team and I would have been in a non-sporting capacity, but thanks for the kind messages.
Honestly, whenever I see decisions about jobs I'm always worried. What if I'm that unlucky kid who loses everything going for a job that looks so nice on paper? It's worrying.
It's tough making any major decisions. Whatever happens though, you can never change what you've done, you can only deal with the consequences, for better or for worse. Same in every walk of life. Chances always come along if you continue to look for them. They might not be ideal every time, but sometimes a compromise is necessary. And I'm rambling, haha. Some guy dropped a wad of 100s at a taco stand while paying. I pointed it out to him, he picked it up, didn't even say thanks. Guy behind me paid for my tacos and said should have taken it. Still feel good I did the right thing. Edit, gold and free tacos for doing the right thing, pretty cool.
I saw a guy drop a $5 bill in a bar once. I pointed it out to him and he got all hot-headed and said, "Why you looking at my money?" I was too dumbfounded to respond.
Had a girl do this to me when I returned her purse. She had left it in one of the huge mail bags. We both worked in the college mail room. Instead of a thank you, I got a glare and, "Why are you touching my purse?" as she snatched it up. Still a little angry about that.
Had a bank teller give me $100 extra. I returned it after sitting in my car for 20 minutes contemplating.
Similar situation happened to my dad. The teller have him an extra $300. He stepped away from the counter to count his cash and noticed the mistake. Then went back to tell her and she stopped him thinking he was complaining about being shorted. She was kind of nasty about it and told him that bank policy was that you needed to check before leaving the counter or it's too late. He said thanks and walked out the door, ignoring her calling after him. She knew she screwed up when he thanked her and didn't argue. This was back in the early 80s and I'm sure that policy changed quickly.
Fresh out of prison, released early on parole, which meant I had a curfew of 10 p.m. every single night, and unless I was at work I couldn't be out that late. The PO would come to my house and was allowed to show up whenever and had the ability to search my house or anyone I was with at any time. I also got drug tested and alcohol tested randomly, and the DMV had suspended my license for 5 years, so I had no ability to drive either. Needless to say, I didn't get out much, and any girl I talked to in their early 20s, which is how old I was at the time, was near impossible, and I didn't try much. Then about 7 months after I got out, I went to the local St. Patrick's Day parade in my city, which is a huge event, and met some friends I haven't seen in years, and afterwards everyone goes bar hopping. I tagged along and I ordered Red Bull and a glass of ice at the bar and fit right in. Hit it off with this girl and we were dancing on the dance floor. Her friend finally wanted to leave around 7 p.m. from the bar and go back to their place about 40 minutes north of the city and said I was welcome. When I told her no, she lost it, and started begging me to have sex with her. I explained my situation and explained how far I was from home, subway 35 to 45 minutes to bus ride 30 to 40 minutes to walk home 30 to 40 minutes. Passed up chance to have sex when it had been a while since I had it, but didn't want to risk going back to jail for not being home if my PO happened to show up at 10:04 p.m. to see if I was home. Edit, thanks for the gold. And yeah, I was staying with family, so that wasn't an option to bring her back to my place.
Sounds like you're making the decisions that are going to keep you from going back into prison. Good on you.
Asian girl who had been pining away for me for years. My longtime girlfriend and I broke up. She came to me and told me she'd been waiting for years. She said that if we were together that I would never have to worry about money ever again. Dad is the CEO of a large insurance firm. She was very attractive, with a nice wide butt. London accent made it even better. Had to say no because despite having everything going for her, she was a shit person. But I still think back on this.
If it's any consolation to you, I think you made the wrong choice.
I walked away from 2 girls in another city while traveling for work who wanted to have a threesome. I was engaged at the time and there was practically zero chance I would have been caught. No regrets, but damn, it was not easy.
Oddly, the first thing that comes to mind is I found an iPhone lost in a clothing store. I had a really old broken phone and I really wanted to just walk out with that phone. Turned it in instead. I'm still waiting for karma to get back to me. Edit, oh wow guys, karma has gotten back to me, was worried I was forgotten there for a while. And my first gold. Thank you stranger. And everyone else who made me feel good about resisting temptation, happy crying face. I found a brand new Galaxy S5 at work one day. It was stuck between the wall and the booth that I accidentally found after a freak accident landed me underneath the table. I took it home to charge it to contact someone in their contact list. I went through their messages and recent calls. Nothing was older than 3 months old, and all contact ended after about a week of them trying to call and text. The phone was even still in service. We were having big money problems and I really thought about selling the phone for a little extra cash, but my conscience and my husband convinced me to contact the owner. I texted one of the mainly contacted numbers to let them know that I had the phone and we agreed to meet up at my work the next day. She told me that she lost it not long after getting it, and was just about to give up on finding it and get a new phone. Then she said that not many people would return it, and gave me $50. Super hot girl came to my birthday party. We were making out most of the night. She tries to lead me to the bedroom for sexy time. She was so blasted she could barely walk. I decided I wasn't doing anything with a girl this drunk no matter how smoking hot she was. I picked her up, took her to the bedroom and put her in the bed, told her I would be back in a minute, I needed to do something. Came back 5 minutes later to check on her and she was out cold. She thanked me in the morning for not taking advantage of her.